Hey everyone, welcome back to Williamson Ridge Outdoors. Today we're standing here at our hay rake. I wanted to make a quick video about actually my DeWalt grease gun, and it came to mind because I was out here trying to get this hay rake greased up because I'm getting ready to start raking hay and baling hay probably tomorrow. So kind of what brought this video on is when you're greasing equipment, a lot of times you're going through these cartridges pretty quick, especially on stuff like this, this hay rake, that I didn't grease it at the beginning of the season because I thought that, you know, these things aren't high-speed bearings or anything in here, but, you know, you should definitely grease it every time that you go to use it. And what brought that on is because I actually started to grease it this time, and water and stuff was squirting out of there, where it's just been sitting here since the first cut. So I started really pumping a lot of grease in it because I wanted to push all that water out of there. And so once it got past the water, you could see that the old grease that was in there was also just really old and, you know, kind of had water mixed in with it. So I wanted to try to make sure I pushed all that out and had all new grease inside there. So I was using a lot of grease, and I've only greased 4 of these wheels, and I've already went through a tube of grease trying to make sure I pushed everything out so that everything was good and fresh. So then that brought on, you know, having to change out grease cartridges, and just how easy it actually is on this, and there's almost no downtime at all. So let's get started. I'll show you how to do this. So first, all you got to do is unscrew the whole metal housing here that holds the cartridge. And you can actually do this step either now or you could have done it first, but we're going to pull our lever back and just pull it over to the side. There's like a little slot here in it that it locks into place. As you can see, our grease cartridge already came out, so I'm just going to dump that off on the ground for a minute. And then we're going to take our new cartridge, going to pull the plastic cap off the end. We're going to slide that in the grease gun first, and then that leaves your end with the metal tab on it. And so we're going to go ahead and pull that metal tab off. And now we're going to thread it right back on our grease gun. Just kind of snug it down there pretty good. I'm going to take our lever and move it out of the notch. Just work it back in. Now here on the gun, there's actually a bleeder valve right here. So we're going to take it and loosen it up a little bit. Now sometimes you can hear this and sometimes you can see it, but you will hear it kind of pop and crack, letting air go through that. You can kind of even pull the trigger on it. Sometimes I've had to move the handle back and forth a little bit, trying to maybe just kind of push out some of the air pockets. Don't quite have it. Sometimes this can take just a little bit depending on the grease that you have. I've got the Tractor Supply brand that is very similar to the Red and Tacky Lucas brand. There it goes. So you see the grease start coming out of that hole. Now we're just going to tighten it down. And it is primed and ready to go. And it's never a bad idea whenever you're working with this to have a rag around, kind of wipe the excess grease off of everything. There's really not a whole lot of grease to have to worry about when you do that, but where I had to mess with it a little bit there to try to get that air pocket out of it, I ended up getting a little bit on my fingers. So what you seen there actually was probably one of the hardest times that I've had it to actually get rid of that air pocket, other than in the winter time. Sometimes when you're out and it's really cold, then that's pretty stubborn sometimes, trying to just bleed off that air pocket. But once you do, you're usually good to go. And like I say, if you kind of just work the plunger back and forth a little bit and kind of, you know, try to move that around, and it'll kind of push that air out. And so sometimes when that grease is just really thick, it just can't flow very well. And the spring in there, I guess maybe is not quite, you know, strong enough to push it out. But you can do a few things like that trying to get it to move. But once you get it, then it kind of creates that suction, and it just kind of sucks the rest of it through there. And very rarely do you lose prime on it. I have lost prime a couple times in the real cold weather. You know, like I say, when the grease is just really thick and just hard to move. But most of the time in summer weather and stuff like this, then there's no issue with it, you know, losing prime and then having to do it again. But if it does do it again, that's all you do is just open that bleeder valve up and let that air pocket out of there, and then you're good to go. So I just thought I'd share this video with you today because I've seen some mixed reviews on these things about changing those grease cartridges, and some people seem to make this really a difficult job. But as you can see there, it's not at all. I've been really happy with this grease gun and the way that it works and the function, because again, whenever you're working on a job like this and you run out of grease, you're not down for, you know, 20 or 30 minutes trying to get your grease gun going again. You can literally change that out in about 2 minutes. So I appreciate you following along today. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. Follow along with us for all the projects we have going on around the property, and we'll see you on the next one.